I'm Tyson.
I'm Angel. And we're so excited to show you around today. Also, say hi to Helena behind the camera.
All right, Maya, what are you doing?
Well, right now, me and Angel are planting our very first bed of the season.
Woohoo!
We planted some mixed greens, and now we're doing some bok choy.
Can I zoom in on you planting some?
Yeah. And we use soil blocks, which are a plastic-free way to start transplants.
What is a soil block?
So we just have a little block of soil, and we have a machine that makes them that we can show you in the greenhouse. But yeah, so we just start seeds in each block, and then it makes it really easy to separate them and transplant. And yeah, these greens will be ready for the beginning of our spring share
When is that?
in April 27th.
All right, so here we are at the greenhouse, just walking in, and here's Carmen.
Hello. Welcome to the greenhouse.
What's going on in here?
This is where we start all of our plants. We try to transplant as much as we can because that ensures that we get the best germination rather than direct seeding in the field. We do direct seed a few things, but here we start almost everything. And we found that transplanting your own stuff gives us the healthiest transplants possible, which means that the plants are then healthier.
All right, so can you walk us through what is transplanting? What does that look like?
Yeah, so in here we make these soil blocks with a soil block maker, which looks like this. So we get a special blend of soil from Beautiful Land Products. Shout out in West Ranch. And they make a special mix of soil that is really great for making these soil blocks. And then each soil block has a little indentation where we put the seeds.
Okay, so are there seeds in here?
Yeah, so this is a broccoli tray that we just seeded a couple of days ago.
Okay.
And with a lot of things, we have different successions of them. So that's broccoli that we just started this weekend, and then over here is broccoli that we started 2 weeks ago, and then we'll probably start more broccoli in another 2 weeks. So with a lot of stuff, because we're growing vegetables for a long season, April through November, we like to be constantly planting and having new generations of plants, basically.
So things to harvest throughout the summer.
Correct, yeah. So we started our first round of lettuce on February 17th, and we'll continue starting lettuce through October.
Is that what we're looking at here?
Yeah, this is lettuce. So lettuce is one of the things that we plant most often. We start lettuce almost every week, and then we transplant that into our two high tunnels, which are a structure like this, but just over the bare dirt.
It's pretty hot in here. What's the temperature?
It's about 90 degrees right now.
Why is it so hot?
Well, it's a little too hot because we turned off the fans for the video. But once we turn the fans back on, we'll get it back down to around 80, and that's a good temperature for germination, actually. And we're also storing heat. There's a concrete floor here, and so if we store heat overnight, because it is still getting a little bit cold at night, so we can keep it from freezing in here, which is important. What we have in here is mostly cool season crops like lettuce, baby kale, mixed mustard greens, Swiss chard, kale, broccoli, kohlrabi, that kind of thing. But this week actually we'll starting tomatoes or peppers and eggplants, and then tomatoes next week in the house, and then we'll bring them out here. So we'll start to have more of those warm season crops here next week. Yeah, so we're headed out here, and these are covered with a plastic layer, and they're called high tunnels. Some people also call them hoop houses. And it's very similar to the concept of a greenhouse, but instead of glass, it's covered with plastic. And so we have two of them, and we primarily plant greens in the high tunnels.
Okay.
We have a spring share that begins at the end of April, and so this allows us to do that season extension since it's still cold at night, we couldn't just plant this uncovered. So the tunnel is actually anchored to the ground. So this tunnel is very cool because it's actually on tracks.
Okay.
Which allows us to move it once a year to rest the ground so that we plant it really intensively for a season, and then we'll move it to its other position.
You move the whole building.
We move the whole building. And so you can see it's on tracks here with wheels. And then when we get it to a new position, we secure these anchors.
Okay.
So it's anchored really regularly, and the anchors themselves are sunk very deep into the ground.
Okay. And you said that this is for season extension.
Yeah, so that's the idea of, you know, in Iowa, we have a more limited growing season than some other places because of our cold weather. And so our period when you can hope to not have a frost is between May 15th and September 15th, though often it's a little bit longer, but that's what you guess around here. And so that means that those crops that are not frost tolerant, like tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, zucchini, cucumbers, watermelons, all that good summer stuff, can only grow during that window. So in order to have a longer season, because that's not very long, we can use structures like this to kind of expand diversity on the farm and also just make it last longer. So we couldn't plant in the ground right now, but we can plant in the tunnel. But you can see these guys are just finishing up planting a bed. So this has a mix of mustard greens, which are really good to eat in omelets, and then some different kinds of bok choy. And the black tape that you see here is drip tape. So this is how we irrigate in here. It gradually drips water out, and there's a pressure regulator so that it does that at a nice slow rate, which gives a really even watering and is a really efficient and good way to deliver water to the plants.
Carlos, what are we looking at right now?
Right here we're looking at some compost straw we have on top of the garlic.
Okay.
We seed the garlic in the fall.
Okay.
And then after we seed the garlic in the fall, we put the compost over it so it protects it from the snowfall. So here's one of the sizes of the rows.
Okay. And this green stuff here is the garlic?
This is the garlic in the row. So yeah, all the compost will be removed from the garlic. So the spring growth will continue.
And does it get planted here every year?
Well, we switch the garlic around yearly. Last year we had collard greens and kale planted in this area. We rotate the crops every year.
Okay.
So that's better for the soil, and it also is better for the bugs and pests.
Okay.
It's hard for them to find the food that was here last year, so the pests aren't as bad as they would be if it was in a concentrated area. Yeah, midsummer when they're about 3 foot high, a long stem will come out of the top of the garlic, and we call that a garlic scape. And that's where the garlic will seed, or flower anyway. So in the midsummer we come when we pick them, so it enables the garlic to flower. 1 month after that, we'll pick the whole garlic. And it goes from one clove, and a bulb will wrap around that clove, and it'll make 5 to 6 cloves. 8 sometimes on a hull of garlic. So
Inside the ground?
Yes. So one clove always multiplies into multiple cloves to make a garlic head.
How about you come on into the barn and we'll show you what we got going on.
So, what's happening right now, Maya? What time of day is it? What are we doing?
So right now it's evening. We're doing evening chores. And during lambing time, that means that we come out, make sure no one new has had a baby, feed everybody, give everybody water. Yeah. This one goes back in that put then. And just make sure everybody's doing good. I can explain sort of our setup here. In this big pen, we have all of the ewes and the older lambs, the ones that like were born a few weeks ago and they're doing really good. And so everybody lives in here. And then when the ewe gives birth, they get to go into these little independent maternity suites where they get a heat lamp, food, water, and like we can keep track of if the lamb is doing good or not. Then when they are a little bit older and the lambs have their ear tags so we can keep track of them, they go into what we call a family pen. And this is where we like introduce a couple groups of moms and lambs together so they learn how to like find their mom and interact with each other. And then once they're grown up enough, they move back into the big pen. But we give them this little area that's just for lambs, and there's just a little gate that only the lambs can fit through, so the moms can't, barge in and eat all their food. And look, they're learning how to eat solid food. It's so cute. And then finally, over here, we have our goat mamas. And kids. And their kids. Thank you, Ty.
What are like the ages of everybody, all the babies here?
So the lambs in the big pen are all around 1 to 3 weeks old. These goat kids are 1 or 2 weeks old. All the ones running around are 2 weeks, and then there's just one back under the heat lamp who's 1 week old. He's a little bit of a doofus.
And when do they start standing? When do they start eating solid food?
Yeah. When the lambs and goats are born, it takes them like between 15 minutes and an hour to start standing, and then they find the udder and they start drinking on their own normally.
And then where do the lambs go from here?
So, our lambs this year, we are going to rotationally graze and finish all of our lambs, except we may save some. We haven't decided yet. And rotational grazing just means that we are going to use electric fencing to move them in small sections around the farm. And this is like really good for the pasture, and it's good for the lambs because it gives the pasture more recovery time to grow, like time for the grass to grow. This fall and winter, they will be finished. They will at about like 100 pounds, and then we'll sell them as whole and half lambs.
So I just want to talk a little bit about what community supported agriculture, or CSA, is. And it's the idea where our customers sign up with us at the beginning of the season and then receive a weekly share of what's in season of vegetables. So we have 3 CSA seasons on our farm. A spring season that begins at the end of April, a summer season, and a fall season. So we're delivering vegetables basically every week from April through Thanksgiving. And this year we did our first ever 2 bonus boxes in December and January. So we try to grow for a very long season, which means we're growing a lot of different kinds of vegetables to keep it interesting. Since our customers are getting vegetables from us for such a large part of the year, we want to keep it interesting. And another part of it is you get a newsletter every week with little updates on what's on the farm, as well as some tips about how to cook everything and some recipes for what's in the box that week.
How do you 3 know each other?
So our local harvest CSA was actually founded by Tyson's grandma 25 years ago. This will be our 25th season, which we're very excited to celebrate. And Maya and I are sisters and grew up a mile away. So grew up knowing the family and the farm, and took over about 5 years ago.
Are you rolling?
No,
Restart that. Thanks for joining us on the tour.
we really enjoyed showing you around the farm, and we look forward to answering your questions soon.
Peace.